guys, it's Dr. George here for another Tucked In Tuesday. So you guys can put in a comment where you're watching from or your name. If you're on YouTube, I can see those as well. So I'll wait for a couple of you to come in. But I do have a book in honor of Black History Month, and it's Ida B. Wells, Let the Truth Be Told, by Walter Dean Myers, illustrated by Bonnie Christensen. And it's an AR book. So go ahead and write this down. The book today is right here. This is our book that's scrolling across the bottom. And there's our AR points. So you want to get that AR information on there. That'll be great. Ida B. Wells, quiz number 126937, book level 5.4, which is a fifth grader at the fourth month, and 0.5 points, which is a half of a point. But all those points add up. And we're having an AR parade, Homer Drive Scholars. If you're watching, hopefully Coach shows you this before Friday. We'll have starting at 5 points. You can be in the parade and going up. So we'll have them. So you have to take your AR test, read your book, take your test, and make an 80 or above on your test. So you can't just barely pass and get the credit. You have to actually read the book and internalize what they're saying. So can't wait to see who's in that parade. But this is the information for the book. And I'm going to go to my page because I got to see those comments. There we go. Great. There we go. All right. So I got my people that are watching on there. And hi, Missy Glacis. So here we go. Ida B. Wells, Let the Truth Be Told. And permission granted by Harper Collins. So remember, you have to have permission to read someone's book online. And it is by Walter Dean Myers, illustrated by Bonnie Christensen. Ida Bell Wells was born on the 16th of July, 1862 in Holly Springs, Mississippi. The first child of James Wells and his wife, Elizabeth, was beautiful, bright-eyed, and healthy. Still, there was much to worry about. James Wells, although a skilled carpenter, was legally a slave. And so was his wife. 3 years later, the Constitution of the United States was changed. The 13th Amendment made slavery illegal. All the Black people of Holly Springs were now free. Look at those beautiful illustrations. Over the next few years, young Ida was joined by 3 brothers and 3 sisters. The Wells children were taught to be responsible for one another and the family home. Each child had chores to do around the house. When the Methodists started a school in Holly Springs, James Wells made sure that his children attended. Our job was to go to school and learn all we could, Ida would say later. My mother went along to school with us until she learned to read the Bible. After that, she visited the school regularly to see how we were getting along. And it's from the Crusade for Justice, the autobiography of Ida B. Wells. And there she is, just like some of you in school. Encouraged by both of her parents, Ida became a good student. She could handle schoolwork better even than some of the adults who were just learning to read after a lifetime of working in the cotton fields. But Ida saw that life was not good for all Black people. There were places Black people could not enter and jobs they could not get. If Blacks were accused of crimes, they often could not get it. If Blacks were accused of crimes, they often would not get a trial. Some were even killed by angry white mobs. When a person was killed in this manner, it was called lynching. Ida saw the sadness and fear caused by the lynching. Hi, Betty, how are you? In 1877, 16-year-old Ida was visiting her grandmother in another part of Mississippi when she learned that yellow fever had struck Holly Springs. Both of Ida's parents and her youngest brother died. Heartbroken, Ida returned home. She listened as the family's neighbors and friends talked about what they could do to help raise the Wells children. That won't be necessary, Ida stood up, as tall as her 5 feet aloud. I can take care of my family. It wouldn't be easy, Ida knew. They could live in the house that her parents had owned and would have the small savings that James Wells had carefully put aside. Ida decided to take a test to become a teacher. She had no experience teaching, but she had helped her sisters and brothers with their lessons. After passing the test, Ida taught in a small town 6 miles away from Holly Springs. A friend of the family agreed to keep the smaller children while Ida worked. So Ida's parents and her brother died. Her youngest brother died. Ooh, she was young. Ida taught during the week and came home on weekends to do the washing and ironing for her brothers and sisters. Each Sunday night, Ida would ride back to the country school on an old mule. She worked in small schools around Holly Springs for 2.5 years. Ida's Aunt Fanny lived in Memphis, Tennessee, 43 miles north of Holly Springs. There were more teaching opportunities there, and in 1881, Ida, now 19, moved to Memphis with 2 of her sisters. Teaching was just as hard there. Ida had to travel by train to get to her job. She often used the time on the train to read or write letters. She read newspapers and whatever books she could find. She also began to keep a diary. So it's Happy Tuesday. You're right, Betty. So she was 19 when she was teaching. Oh my goodness. So she was teaching even before 19. One day, Ida took a seat in the ladies' coach of the train. The conductor refused to take her ticket and told her to move to the smoking car. Ida knew that the conductor wanted her to move because she was Black. She refused. The conductor tried to pull her out of the seat. Ida was small. She braced her feet against the seat in front. When the conductor put his hand on her arm, she bit him. The conductor got 2 strong men, and together they dragged Ida from the car. Ida, very upset, left the train and went back to Memphis. Hello, Vanessa and Alberto. Sorry about that. Ida decided to sue the railroad. She won her case in court and it was awarded $500. The local newspaper, the Memphis Appeal Avalanche, ran the story. The headline read, "Dark Damsel Gets Damages." Ida also wrote about the incident for the church paper, The Living Way. Judge Pierce, who was an ex-Union soldier from Minnesota, awarded me damages of $500. Well, hi, Noelle. Hello. I'm so glad you tuned in. Hi, Miss Edwards. Makes my heart happy to see you, Noelle. Judge Pierce, who was an ex-Union soldier from Minnesota, awarded me damages of $500. $500. We're going to talk about that later. Hi, Miss Jenkins. Later, the court's decision was reversed, and Ida did not receive the money she had won in court, but she did see how people reacted to the article she had written. Ida continued to write for her church paper, and soon Black newspapers around the country began to carry her essays. She wrote under the name Iola and was called the Princess of the Press. T. Thomas Fortune, the noted New York publisher of the New York Age, wrote, "Hi, Alexandra," and hi. I know my scholar's watching. She has become famous as one of the few of our women who handle a goose quill with diamond point as easily as any man in newspaper work. If Iola were a man, she would be a humming independent in politics. She has plenty of nerve and is as sharp as a steel trap. By 1889, Ida had stopped teaching and wrote full-time. She even became part owner of a newspaper called Free Speech and Headlight. In August 1892, both her sharp pen and her nerve would be put to the test. So here we go. The People's Grocery Store was owned by 3 of Ida's friends. A dispute occurred between the 3 and some white men who did not like the idea that Black men owned the store. A fight ensued and shots were exchanged. The next morning, hundreds of Black men were arrested, including Ida's friends. Several days later, the store owners were taken from the jail by a white mob and murdered. Ida was filled with grief and anger. She knew that the deaths of Black men were often ignored. Longing for justice, Ida turned to the only weapon she had, her writing. In her articles for Free Speech and Headlight, Ida urged the Black people of Memphis to leave town or stop supporting white businesses or riding the white-owned streetcar line. Ida Wells had organized one of the most economic boycotts. She was threatened and her friends feared for her life. When Ida left town to visit New York, her office was invaded by hoodlums and destroyed. This is what opened my eyes to what lynching really was, an excuse to get rid of Negroes who were acquiring wealth and property. From the Crusade for Justice, the autobiography of Ida B. Wells. See that? I kind of flashed that kind of fast. Ida was forced to leave Memphis, but she was determined not to be quiet or fearful. She began writing for the New York Age from her new home in Chicago. Her articles exposed the poor treatment of Black people, especially Black men. More than any other person in America, she spoke and wrote about the crime of lynching. She believed that all Americans, Black and white, were entitled to equal justice. In 1893, she published a book on lynching titled The Red Record. Her good friend Frederick Douglass wrote an introduction to the book. Dear Miss Wells, brave woman, you have done your people and mine a service which can neither be weighed nor measured. Ida was invited to speak in England and Scotland. She spoke with eloquence and passion about the unfair treatment of Black men. In the past 10 years, over 1,000 Black men and women and children have met this violent death at the hands of a white mob, and the rest of America has remained silent. Letter from Ida B. Wells to the editor of the Birmingham, England Daily Post, published May 16, 1983. Hey, Melvin, my husband. From the Crusade for Justice, the autobiography of Ida B. Wells. In June 1895, Ida B. Wells married Ferdinand Lee Barnett, an attorney and newspaper publisher. Susan B. Anthony, who fought so hard for women's rights, worried that Ida would give up her life as a crusader for justice. Ida replied, Miss Anthony, don't you believe in women getting married? She replied, oh, yes, but not women like you who had a special call for special work. I know of no one in this country better fitted to do the work you had in hand than yourself. Although she was raising her own family, Ida Wells did not abandon her role as a fighter. In 1900, the Chicago Tribune ran a series of articles recommending school segregation. Ida asked for help from another brave warrior in the fight for social equality, Jane Addams. Miss Addams brought together a group of influential white business people to hear Ida plead her case. Ida Wells convinced them to help keep Chicago schools open for all children. Hi, Miss Rito. Although a wife and mother, Ida continued to write and organize. In 1909, she was one of the major speakers and organizers of the group that would eventually call itself the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Ida Wells understood that among African Americans, there were important differences. Those who were powerful and doing well often weren't willing to make a commitment to help the poorest among them. They wanted to be respectable. Ida Wells also wanted to be respectable, but felt it was her duty to fight for justice. I'd rather go down in history as one lone Negro who dared to tell the government that it has done a dastardly thing than to save my skin by taking back what I have said. Wow. She's quite a powerful lady. Ida continued her fight for justice by taking up the cause of suffrage, her friend Susan B. Anthony's lifelong mission. After talking to Anthony about voting rights, Ida was convinced that women's suffrage was critical to political change for Black women. In 1913, Ida created the Alpha Suffrage Club. It was the first voting organization for Black women in the state of Illinois. At Woodrow Wilson's presidential inauguration in 1913, Ida and 5,000 other women marched for the right to vote. When white suffragists asked Ida to march in a separate color section, Ida sternly refused. It took several more years of hard work by Ida and many others, but finally, women won the right to vote in 1920. Yay, Ida. I love that picture. Ida Wells spoke up for what she believed. Her weapons were her keen mind and her pen. Leaders as different as W.E.B. Du Bois and Marcus Garvey, the Black nationalists, consulted her. In 1930, feeling that the candidates for the state legislature in Illinois were not doing enough for the people, she ran for the state senate. She did not win the race, but again, her clear and passionate voice was heard. The following year, on the 25th of March, Ida B. Wells died. For more than a half century, this dynamic, intelligent woman used her writing skills to promote freedom, safety, and justice. She made America a better place. And then there's a timeline of when she was born in 1861 and she died in 1990. Now, all of my scholars and Ms. Rito, you all know that Dr. George is not very good in math. And coach, if you're watching them, there's a little math problem. 1861 is when she was born. Noel, write this down, and all my other scholars that's watching. Born 1861, died 1931. So let me fix that. 1861, died 1931. And I have my daughter loved you. I love her ever since she was little. And hi, Crystal. Yes, cool, right? So lots of things happened to Ida. But let's see when Ida began teaching in Mississippi. 1879. The child born in 1861. She started teaching in 1879. While I'm reading the rest of the book, tell me how old she was. And her words of Ida B. Wells, our job was to go to school and learn all we could. I love that. Judge Pierce, who was an ex-Union soldier from Minnesota, awarded me damages of $500. $500. In the past 10 years, over 1,000 Black men and women and children have met this violent death at the hands of a white mob, and the rest of America has remained silent. My mother went along to school with us until she learned to read the Bible. After that, she visited the school regularly to see how we were getting along. That won't be necessary. I can take care of my family. That's what Ida said when her parents and her youngest brother died. This is what opened my eyes to what lynching really was, an excuse to get rid of Negroes who were acquiring wealth and property. Miss Anthony, don't you believe in women getting married? And I'd rather go down in history as one lone Negro who dared to tell the government that it has done a dastardly thing than to save my skin by taking back what I have said. So anybody knows how old she was. I'll wait for that. And guys, and at the end it says she has plenty of nerve and is as sharp as a steel trap. T. Thomas Fortune, publisher of the New York Age. And remember that AR book, that information is posted there. And guys, I always like to do my takeaway of this book. You are never too young or too old to achieve a goal. And look at me rhyming. You're never too young or too old to achieve a goal. Ida B. Wells has inspired me to keep going. Yep, Miss Rito. Yep, Noel, keep going. No matter what happened to Ida B. Wells, she kept pushing, she kept going. Let the truth be told. And she was transparent the whole time. So I love that. Always be open, transparent, vulnerable. Let people know that you're human and you have feelings, but keep pushing. That's the beauty of it. And guys, I would have to say this is probably one of my favorite books that I have read. I'm staring at it because I didn't know her story, but now I do. So I'll be looking for you scholars tomorrow to give me the age that she was when she started teaching. And let me give you those years again. You can type it in the chat. 1861, she born, and she started teaching in 1879. 1879. Ms. Rito said, keep going. That's right, Ms. Rito. Yes, be yourself always. I don't know any other way to be, Ms. Crystal, but myself. I love that. So let's see, because I can see my handy dandy calculator. It is a great story. I don't want to give you a wrong answer. So let's see. 1879. There's nothing wrong with using a calculator. Just saying. 1861. She was 18 when she started teaching. You know what I was doing at 18? I was in college. She was teaching. So I absolutely love that. And look at the back, Princess of the Press. Guys, I'm going to say, like I say, every single Tuesday and every single day at Homer Drive Elementary, if nobody else tells you, and I mean if nobody else tells you, Dr. George loves you. Guys, have a great day or great night, or I should say, rest well on purpose. Have a great day, guys. Love you. Good night.